حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله. إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا وسيئات أعمالنا من يهد الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله صلى الله عليه وسلم. قال الله سبحانه يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون. يا أيها الناس اتقوا ربكم الذي خلقكم من نفس واحدة وخلق منها زوجها وبث منهما رجالا كثيرا ونساء واتقوا الله الذي تساءلون به والأرحام إن الله كان عليكم رقيبا. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وقولوا قولا سديدا يصلح لكم أعمالكم ويغفر لكم ذنوبكم ومن يطع الله ورسوله فقد فاز فوزا عظيما. أما بعد فإن خير الكلام كلام الله وخير الهدى هدى محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم وشر الأمور محدثاتها وكل محدثة بدعة وكل بدعة ضلالة وكل ضلالة في النار. أما بعد. Knowledge is a gift from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and that is true knowledge, which is more than just poring over facts, data, and information, but contemplation of those facts and understanding, which is often only gained by restructuring the data, summarizing it, expounding upon it, looking for patterns. The same as it applies to knowledge of the Deen of Islam and more. Being driven by what you learn, submitting to it wherever it takes you, whatever it tells you to do, letting it remove you from your comfort zone, connecting that to Allah and recognizing that Allah has power over all things. And we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give us beneficial knowledge, and we ask Allah to benefit us with the knowledge that He has given us. So what if we are not increasing in our knowledge? Are we then so corrupt that nothing will benefit us now? So Allah is being kind to us by not establishing the hujjah against us further. Maybe. But an increase in knowledge may lead to other temptations. Looking down on those who don't know, rather than desiring that they learn the beauty of what we have learned and act upon it. And the more you learn and push frontiers of your knowledge, the more you learn that which you don't know, and that which intersects with other sciences and studies that you do not even know the basics of, and so you are humbled and recognizing that you know nothing. Just as the angels said to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala after He created Adam, قَالُوا سُبْحَانَكَ, they said, glory be to you, لَا عِلْمَ لَنَا إِلَّا مَا عَلَّمْتَنَا. We have no knowledge except that which you have taught us. إِنَّكَ أَنْتَ الْعَلِيمُ الْحَكِيمُ. Truly you are the knowing, the wise. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wanted to test Musa alayhi salam with a lesson in knowledge. So when Musa alayhi salam was in front of his people, one of them was decreed to ask, who is the most knowledgeable person? Ayyun nasi a'lam. And Musa said, I am the most knowledgeable. Ana a'lam. And he certainly had the reason to respond that way. He is the primary messenger and prophet of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on earth at that time, and one of the greatest messengers, and given a tremendous comprehensive set of law and guidance. And once when some of the companions suggested that Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam's methods were too difficult to traverse, he sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, truly the most knowledgeable and fearful of Allah is me. إنما أتقاكم وأعلمكم بالله أنا. Sending a signal that you cannot get closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala except by following the way of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. But Allah rebuked Musa alayhi salam for not returning that knowledge to him and saying, Allah knows best who is most knowledgeable, but as far as I know, then it is myself. So Allah revealed to him that there is a slave from among his slaves near where the two rivers meet, and he is more knowledgeable than me. فأوحى الله إليه أن عبدا من عبادي بمجمع البحرين هو أعلم منه. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala describes this individual with humble characteristics, not saying he's a prophet that Musa can learn from, but simply a slave from among the slaves. As if to say that every slave and worshipper of God has knowledge that we don't know. So here is one who will teach you something. And Musa alayhi salam humbled himself immediately and asked how to reach him. Rather than give Musa directions, turn right, then make two lefts, and go down this passageway, he was instead told to carry fish with him in a basket, and wherever they lose that fish, then they'll find this individual. As Musa alayhi salam said, "Ey Rabbi, kayfa li bihi? Faqila lahu ihmil khawtan fi mittalin fahaytu taqil al-khawta fahuwa thamma." And just this simple instruction meant to humble Musa alayhi salam and us, tells us that some knowledge must come from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala alone. So when Musa and his traveling companion Yusha ibn Nun, otherwise known as Joshua, sat down after a long journey, they rested by a rock. And the fish cleared in their basket and left out. Ibn Abbas, he said that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala changed the current of the river, the flow of the river at that moment to direct the fish a certain way in the sea, so that they would never be able to reach it again. And when Musa and Yusha continued their journey and suddenly felt very fatigued, more than ever, Musa asked for the fish, but Yusha admitted that it had left them a while ago. And Musa said, that is exactly what we were waiting for, losing the fish. And so they traced their steps back, and at the rock that they rested at before, they found Khidr alayhi salam. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, فَوَجَدَا عَبْدًا مِنْ عِبَادِنَا آتَيْنَاهُ رَحْمَةً مِنْ عِنْدِنَا وَعَلَّمْنَاهُ مِنْ لَدُنَّا عِلْمًا. So they both found a slave from among our slaves. We gave him mercy from us and taught him from us a knowledge. And when Musa asked to follow Khidr and learn from him, Khidr said, you won't be able to be patient for me. And how could you when you have no idea what I've been inspired with from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Musa is one, if not the first individual to travel solely for the sake of knowledge. And here the teacher rebukes him, essentially saying, go away, you're not ready, you're in over your head. Saying this to a messenger of God. But Musa is persistent and he is desirous of this knowledge that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent him to find. Musa didn't complain that the teacher was mean to him. Musa was in fact patient. He had learned his lesson from last time, and he said, you will insha'Allah find me patient and I won't disobey you at all. So Khidr's condition is, don't ask me about anything until I explain it to you later. And so they departed. And Musa was observing Khidr. This was not in a classroom. This is an experience, a journey that they took together. Khidr was not going to tell Musa alayhi salam about the virtues of an action or how to judge between two people in this kind of dispute or that kind of contract. This was a different kind of knowledge that could only be learned through experience and observation. And that fact, in of itself, is worth pondering. The Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he was a great teacher, one of the greatest. No, in fact, the greatest teacher that ever lived. And look how he inspired others around him and up till today, just by reading about his example. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is an even greater teacher. Allah lets His messengers experience things before the lesson, so that they'll never forget it. Khidr could have prepped Musa by telling him exactly what he was going to do, just as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala could have prepped the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam and other prophets for many events of their lives. But that's not what is going to make us stronger individuals. Just as carpenters learn by mistake and correction, so do we learn best. And this is an important lesson for parents as well. Do you want your children to learn trust, patience, honesty, generosity, courage, ihsan, and excelling to do their best, humility, respect for others? I could sit with your children, or any other imam could, or even your own selves, sit with them and talk to them and bore them to death. But that will only make them be as patient and honest as they need to be in order to avoid another sit-down. But if you want them to truly learn these things and appreciate them, you have to demonstrate them in the field of life. You have to say, "Oh, my son, do you see me, your father, staring at those women? Follow me around and tell me what you see from my eyes. Oh, my children, look at how I make sure to be fair with my employees and ensure that their livelihood is secure. Oh, my son, look how I treat your mother with respect and fair expectation, and how she treats me with respect in return, and how I can rely on her. Let us go together and donate some of our wealth that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has blessed us with to the masjid and other good causes. Oh, my daughters, be strong and follow the advice of one who said that the best decision I ever made in my life was taking good role models. Oh, my children, let's pick a new charity every payday that we want to support. Oh, my children, look at how we do not shame away from who we are as Muslims outside the home, and how we respond with kindness and patience to the ignorance and suspicion and hatred of those around us. If you're not teaching this to your children, and you cannot say these things to your children, then trust me, sitting your children in front of an imam or in front of a TV to teach them the same thing will only help them as much as aspirin helps broken bones. So Musa and Khidr alayhi salam, they went together and they were given passage aboard a ship. Since the owners knew Khidr as being a righteous man, they gave him a free ride. And while aboard Khidr, he secretly dug into a board and pulled it open to let water come in. And Musa alayhi salam, he was livid with anger. Did you seriously just put a hole in this boat, putting these people at risk for drowning while they just helped us without charge? And Khidr said, didn't I tell you that you wouldn't have patience with me? So Musa alayhi salam, he remembered this condition and he said, okay, please do not hold my forgetfulness against me. So when the ship reached shore and they got off, they saw a group of boys playing on the beach. And Khidr alayhi salam, he grabbed one of the boys in a chokehold and pulls until the boy passes away right there. Musa alayhi salam recognized this as pure evil. And he said, did you just slaughter an innocent, nafsan zakiyatan, without right, an innocent soul without right? And Khidr reminded him, this is exactly what I was saying. You cannot be patient with me. And Musa alayhi salam, just like any of us, might be embarrassed due to our frequent mistakes and having to apologize over and over, he says, okay, and if I ask you again, then you have an excuse from me not to accompany me any longer. And so they reached the town after the shore. And it's the well-known custom of the time that when a stranger comes to a town, the people arrange a little food here and there for the stranger. Some water, some bread, some broth. And when these two men, Musa, the messenger of Allah, and Khidr, we don't know if he's a prophet or an angel in human form, or if he's just a righteous person whom Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave specific instructions to on one occasion. But they have no money. And the people of the town are so miserly that they refuse to help. SubhanAllah. And while there, Musa and Khidr, they see a town wall that is about to collapse. And Khidr, he labors over it, preparing it himself. And maybe he spent hours on it. Musa alayhi salam, he lost his patience. He said, we are in this town, starving, and we've been refused hospitality when it's our right. And on top of that, you volunteer to do something to work this for free. So Khidr says, this is it. According to your own condition, our ways part here, and you will see me no more. But I will tell you about that which you had witnessed from me. أقول قولي هذا وأستغفر الله لي ولكم ولسائر المسلمين والمسلمات من كل ذنب فاستغفروه إنه هو الغفور الرحيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله أما بعد. Many of us these days are suffering individually, silently, in different ways, and we are shy to tell others about it because we fear being labeled as selfish at a time where collective systemic injustice against others is receiving long overdue attention. But some of those personal sufferings have been exacerbated by COVID-19 quarantine. Problems with relationships especially, and employment, among other things. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us to remind each other, for the reminder benefits the believers. Just as Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal, rahimahullah ta'ala, in his last days, in the last year of his life, he recited Surah Al-Kahf. And increasingly, not just every Friday, which is the sunnah, but increasingly, maybe even every single day, as a reminder, because he heard the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam say, he learned that the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said that the trials of the great are like the trials of the Masih al-Dajjal, the false Messiah. And how do we prepare for the trials of the Masih al-Dajjal? By reciting and learning the lessons of Surah Al-Kahf. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us in Surah Al-Kahf that Khidr alayhi salam, he told Musa alayhi salam, as for the ship, it belonged to working poor, masakin. And there was a tyrannical king there that was taking every single ship by force, whether it was for fishing or ferrying, all for his navy. And so I wanted to put a defect into that ship for these poor folks so that the king would not take it. And as for the boy, his parents were believers, and we feared that he would oppress them with disbelief and tyranny. So we wanted that their Lord replace the boy with one that was even more pure and innocent and closer in mercy. And as for the wall, it was on property that was inherited by two orphan boys. And there was wealth for them buried under the wall that their father had hid for them. And their father was a righteous man. وَكَانَ أَبُوهُمَا صَالِحًا. And so your Lord wanted that the boys grow up and take these things to benefit from themselves when they can, when they are strong. If the wall had collapsed now and exposed that treasure, no doubt the people of this stingy town would have swooped in, taken it, and forcefully denied the children their right to it under some false pretense. And had we asked for wages, that might have brought unnecessary attention to the wall, leading to its exposure to people, or people thinking that since they paid for its repair, that they have a right to what that wall contains. And finally, Khidr alayhi salam, he said, I did not do this of my own accord. وَمَا فَعَلْتُهُ عَنْ أَمْرِي. in case someone thought that his actions were a precedent or an excuse for anyone else to do similar things which entailed direct harm to others or their property. And now, subhanAllah, no wonder the Prophet Muhammad encouraged us to recite Surah Al-Kahf every single Friday. Imagine the poor sea workers, all the ships in the harbor and the soldiers, they come through and paint every single one with the colors of the king and hang the royal crest on them all and confiscate every single ship in the harbor except one. It didn't pass inspections. And now that junkie ride is a source of pride. You doubt the power of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. In the blink of an eye, they went from being the poorest to the richest. Allahu Akbar. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala preserved for them the vehicle of their gratitude and charity to others. And their gratitude and charity, especially to Musa and Khidr. Whatever you cherish, give back from some of it to those less fortunate, and may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala preserve it for you and grow it. There are a myriad of ways that we can do this. Whether you are a doctor, whether you are a lawyer, a teacher, a businessman, you cherish your wealth, your knowledge, your strength, whatever it may be. If you're grateful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will preserve it for you and give you more. Now think of the parents who just lost their child. What calamity on earth could be worse than to lose a child? A couple I know, they lost their 16-year-old son in a car accident one day. The mother did not get out of bed or even speak for over a year out of grief. But is that worse than a child who drives you away from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, crying for days and months and years over their ingratitude, eventually making you bitter and disdainful? Another family I know, one son, a med school professor, he plots his father's death to inherit the father's money. The son and wife are both in on it, spreading rumors, working magic against the father's wife, contacting all the father's friends and colleagues frequently and spreading slander about the father, making his life of misery, making the father cry out of grief and madly out of stress and anguish for years, wishing that the son had ever been born. Now think of the hopes and dreams of the two orphan boys, and especially their mother, praying for rizq. The answer to the du'as are delayed years until she is older and may be unable to work, and at their weakest moment turning to Allah, more begging of Allah, and then voila, they've struck gold. Literally, they've struck gold with their name on it. No doubt that it belongs to them. And all worries vanish in a heartbeat when they were before that living in austere conditions. What are the lessons here? Patience with the decree of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You won't see the wisdom today. You may not see the wisdom tomorrow. You may not see the wisdom in your lifetime. But you must know that it's there. You must know that it's from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And Allah tests those He loves. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala expiates the sins of those He loves with trials in this life so that they return to Him without any sin. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives increase to the tyrants in this life, the zalimun, so that whatever good they've done is already compensated, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala owes them nothing of good in the hereafter once they're dead. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sometimes tests us with adversity to remind us that we do need Him, and relish the nights that we spend calling out to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in our greatest moments of weakness and inability. But let's not wait for that. As it is said, you are in no less need of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sitting comfortably in your homes than if you were drifting on a plank of wood in the middle of the ocean. But some moments seem more apparent to you than others. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tests us, we raise our hands and some of us, they say, I don't deserve this. But who are you to know what you deserve? Think of the arrogance looking in the kingdom of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Zayd ibn Thabit radiallahu anhu said, I heard the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam say, and we close with these words, لو أن الله عذب عذب أهل سماواته وأهل أرضه لعذبهم وهو غير ظالم لهم. If Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala punished the people of the heavens, the angels, who never disobey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and the people of earth, He could punish them without being unjust to them. وَلَوْ رَحِمَهُمْ لَكَانَتْ رَحْمَتُهُ خَيْرًا لَهُمْ مِنْ أَعْمَالِهِمْ. And if He gave them mercy, then His mercy would have been far greater than their own deeds. وَلَوْ كَانَ لَكَ مِثْلُ أُحُدٍ ذَهَبًا مثل جبل أحد ذهبا تنفقه في سبيل الله ما قبله منك حتى تؤمن بالقدر كله. And if you had the like of the mountain of Uhud in gold, and you spent it in the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it would not be accepted until you believe in the decree and mastery of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala over this universe. فَتَعْلَمَ أَنَّ مَا أَصَابَكَ لَمْ يَكُنْ لِيُخْطِئَكَ وَمَا أَخْطَأَكَ لَمْ يَكُنْ لِيُصِيبَكَ. And so that you know that whatever befalls you was never meant to miss you, and whatever passed you by was never meant to reach you. وَأَنَّكَ إِن مُتَّ عَلَى غَيْرِ هَذَا دَخَلْتَ النَّارَ. And if you died with any belief other than this, you would have entered the fire. Regardless of what we know or think we know about the deen of Islam, the wisdom of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is an ocean without a shore, and our knowledge does not equal that of a drop therein. بارك الله لي ولكم في القرآن والسنة ونفعني وإياكم بما فيهما من الآيات والحكمة. اللهم أعز الإسلام والمسلمين وأعلي بفضلك وكرمك كلمة الحق لك. سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين.
الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح قد قامت الصلاة قد قامت الصلاة الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله.
So, straight on, and he was on the line. صلوا صلاة المغرب and في الصلاة. الله أكبر
الله أكبر.
الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا ألم تر كيف فعل ربك بأصحاب الفيل ألم يجعل كيدهم في تضليل وأرسل عليهم طيرا أبابيل ترميهم بحجارة من سجيل فجعلهم كعصف مأكول. الله أكبر.
الله أكبر.
سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر.
الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين لإيلاف قريش إيلافهم رحلة الشتاء والصيف فليعبدوا رب هذا البيت الذي أطعمهم من جوع وآمنهم من خوف. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. سمع الله لمن حمده. ربنا لك الحمد. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. Assalamu alaikum. We're asking that people don't make sunnahs the first two rows. We'll have to evacuate the masjid. Inshallah, we apologize. We have free lunch for you, inshallah. You come out to the front entrance, inshallah. Forgive us. We have to evacuate in rows so everybody doesn't leave at the same time, inshallah. So first two rows, please. Here in the back, I guess you have time to make sunnahs. The first two rows, we need to exit first, inshallah. Thank you so much.